I was talking fantasy football with my friends the other day.
Alan, Bravo.
Echo.
November.
Tango.
On.
Football.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Bent on Fantasy Football. As always, I am your host, Alan Bentley, and this is my co-host,
Josh Worley.
You got it. All right. So we've got a huge show planned for you today. But before we get into everything, we do want to extend our condolences out to the families in Texas. The school shooting that happened this morning. As you guys are seeing this, you probably already have more details than I can share with you. But on behalf of Bent on Fantasy Football, Josh and I, we do extend our deepest condolences to the friends and families of those victims.
Yes, and we won't opine on the situation because we don't know anything yet. But
yeah, so
our thoughts and prayers are with you.
Yeah, so here's to you. So this week we do have our beers here, and Josh, what kind of beer do you have today?
I have our call-in number beer.
And
yes, for our call-in number, we talked about this last week. We're going to have a special call-in number. It's 224-366-7117. Yep.
So email us at bentffb if you want to be on the show. We'll have you on it, and we'll make sure that we set up the time and everything with you because we do pre-record these shows, so we will get that set up. So my beer this week runs right along with it, the bentffb@gmail.com, which is the email you're going to want to send your request to be on the show.
Or questions or comments
on
anything. Our picks, whatever.
Yeah, anything. Any kind of comments, constructive or destructive, we don't really care. We just want to hear from you guys, okay? So, again, bentffb@gmail.com. And also, just so you guys know, this week, our 10th anniversary, or our 10th show anniversary.
Yes, we got the call.
Now, we actually have a caller.
We actually have a caller right now,
Go
so
ahead and answer it. So this is our first caller on this season. So John, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks guys. This is Bend Over Fantasy Football, right?
Yep.
Yes, it is.
You got it. Bend Over Fantasy.
The last episode.
Did you say Bend Over Fantasy Football?
I totally did.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's close though. I mean, it's it's kind of sounds like that, but it's not exactly at all. So it sounds just like it.
I opened my beer already, Alan. You didn't. So
we didn't have an opportunity to, but
I know.
Pop open a cold one, folks.
I heard Bend Over and I opened it. So
sit back and enjoy the show. All right. So John, what can we do you for today?
Yeah, I'd like to talk a little bit about how about the first number one overall waiver wire pick that I just burned on Damian Williams? Was that a good move, bad move? Who should I start him over?
Well, it depends on who you ask, because if you ask me, I say it's a good move. As we get into our start 'em and sit 'em later on, I'll expand on that a little bit, but I'll let Josh talk about it for right now.
John, Alan loves Damian Williams. I don't necessarily.
Love's kind of a strong word. I do like him, though.
Well,
I mean, we're only friends.
Well, that's true. That's true. He friend zoned you. But it depends on really who you have starting against him. You said you had decisions about him starting him over someone else?
Yeah, I've got Carson penciled in right now, but he's looking at injury and he plays tomorrow, so he's a little iffy. I've got guys like Michael Carter or Trey Sermon waiting in the wings. If Carson starts, Devonta Smith at flex. What do you think?
Okay. Well, I like that. And me personally, Damon Williams, I like him, and I'm going to give you the reasons why that I was going to give on our start 'em and sit 'em. But if you look back into 2019, obviously he sat out the 2020 season for COVID reasons. But if you look back at 2019, he didn't have a spectacular year, but he had a pretty solid year overall. Started 11 games, had a total of 7 touchdowns on the ground and through the air. In the playoffs, he rushed for 196 yards in 3 games, 4 touchdowns on the ground, and then 2 through the air. He averaged per touch 5.1 yards per touch. So being up against that Raiders defense, I think he's going to have a solid week. Now, season long, or actually I guess the next 4 or 5 weeks long, I don't know. It's going to be a week-by-week basis, but this week I definitely like him.
Right?
And I necessarily don't. I really don't.
Get bent.
Get bent. Yes. That Bears offense, I know I know Nagy finally today revealed Justin Fields as the starter for the rest of the year. But I just don't think they're developing the game plan around him. And there's a lot of teams that are going to be focused on the run. I mean, granted, Damian Williams is a good talent. He's not the same talent as David Montgomery. There's no question about that.
Right.
Okay. With Montgomery out, that kind of takes one aspect out of your offense. And I just don't see Damian Williams.
We're going to be arguing about this for hours after this show is over. So, I don't want to waste your time and make you listen to Josh's garbage. So, just trust me.
You're saying to start him. I'm wondering about is Josh on the Devonta Smith train then? Should I be playing him at flex, Josh?
Not yet. We'll talk about that in a minute, okay? We'll talk about that in a minute.
So I guess we're kind of leaving you where you called us at. So yes, start him if you ask me, and no, start him if you ask Josh.
Deal. Are you worried about Chris Carson tomorrow? What do you think? We're just going to wait on the injury news at this point.
I would say first and foremost, wait on the injury news. But if he's healthy and he's in the lineup, I like him.
All right.
I do too. Yeah, even though he's going against that Rams defense, I like Chris Carson. I drafted him in the 4th round, which I thought was amazing. I thought he was a second-round talent, but so okay, back to your Devontae Smith comment. That was kind of a needle right there. John and I have known each other for years. We've been in fantasy football for years. We actually grew up together, so I've known him. I've known him in real life longer than fantasy life. So we played G.I. Joe and He-Man together, 30 plus years ago.
I am so sorry, John.
That's all right. I've got therapists that can handle that for me. You're off the hook.
Love it,
Dick.
love it.
But here's the deal. John and I had a bet at the beginning of the season, and Alan and I are both super high on Jerry Jeudy, okay? I bet Jono, gentleman's bet, no money, involved with that, but I bet Jono that Jerry Jeudy would have a higher scoring fantasy season than Devontae Smith. What do you think about that, Alan?
Well, I do think he'll have a solid season. I think it'll probably be better than Johnny Smith, but
no, Devontae Smith.
Or I'm sorry, Devontae Smith. My mistake. But the thing that I noticed today as I was looking through the injury report, Mr. Judy's a little injured.
He is.
15 points on that bet too. Don't forget.
Wow. Yeah. See, so he's injured right now. What his status is, I don't exactly know because I didn't read the whole thing. I just seen that he had an injury. I think it was an ankle or something. So I don't know how that's going to pan out yet. Barring that injury, I like him better.
Yes, he'll be back in a few weeks, and I still think, Jono, I'm not going to double down on this.
But only a little bit better.
But I still think Jerry Jeudy will outscore Devontae Smith this year.
I'll just have to come back on the podcast and rub it in then, won't I?
You will, and you'll be more than welcome to do that. Be more than welcome to do that.
There's one thing we really wanted to get into, though, with you, Jono. And Jono is in one of my leagues where... And this plays into our stardom our buy low, sell high.
Okay.
Okay. And this affected both of us because it's in our league. So,
yeah. I know what you're talking about.
So, Jono, I'm going to tell you about this trade. I want to give you my thoughts first, and then I want you to give me your thoughts. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So I traded away Cordero Patterson, and I picked up Miles Sanders this week. Okay. Now, my reasoning for that, yes, Cordero Patterson has thrown up some huge numbers, more so than he has in the rest of his career over the last 2-3 weeks. Here's my thinking, and I value your opinion because I've been in fantasy leagues with you forever. I want to throw out a few numbers. And Alan, I don't know if you know these numbers too. But Miles Sanders, do you know the Philadelphia Eagles ran 11 times last week?
No, I did not know that.
That's it. Yes, they ran 11 times last week. The game before against the Eagles, or against the, the Cowboys, they ran 3 times. Design runs for design runs for running backs. Miles Sanders had 2 of those 3 and 7 of the 11. So I think Miles Sanders is pretty much prone to get a lot more of that work. And I know, Jono, you have Jalen Hurts, which I hate you for because you took him ahead of me. I think Jalen Hurts is really making a case to be one of those top QB1s. Okay. And I think as the season goes on, I think he's really going to... That's really going to open up the offense for Miles Sanders. Okay? All right, that's Miles Sanders. How about Cordero? You saw the numbers he put up last week. What, 32.3, something like that?
Huge week.
Yeah.
Huge week. Here's my problem with Cordero Patterson. Okay? He ran 2 times out of the backfield.
Yeah, we were looking at the numbers, and when you look at it on the surface, the numbers are really impressive. But when you dig into it a little bit, you start seeing some things. Go ahead, Josh. You ran 2 times.
He ran 2 times. He had 5 targets, caught 3 of them for touchdowns. Okay, now that's very, very efficient. That's not going to happen on a week-to-week basis. There's no way.
Yeah, that's his, because he had a big play too that inflated those numbers a little bit too. So if you're looking at quantity, the quantity's not there. The quality is right now, but that same kind of production can't keep up per carry or per touch.
Oh, no. So what do you think about that, Jono? Give me your thoughts on the Miles Sanders versus Cordero.
I love this question, and it's also one of them trades that I think it can go either way, which is really cool on both your parts. For me, Miles Sanders, I'm a big fan of looking at history. And you can override some of the peaks and bumps. Every now and then people outperform their history, but if you look at history, Miles Sanders has had a couple years in the league. I went back and looked at his performance under Hurts, the 4 games that Hurts started last year, and he ran a lot more than I actually anticipated. And looking back, my memory was faulty there. He was, looking at bell cow, 14, 15 rushes a game, 4 or 5 targets a game, and that's right where you want him to be. And he's not playing that yet. I think you can probably expect that. And so I think he was a good buy low candidate. With that said, Hurts they ran more than 11 times. Hurts had, I think, 6 straight rushes on the ground himself. So that he really kind of caps some of Miles Sanders' upside, especially if he's going to be throwing a lot. I think eventually you'll win out on that side of it. I think Miles Sanders will end up seeing a little bit more action as they try to protect their quarterback a little bit more. On the other side, Cordero Patterson, again, going with history, I mean, he's been a gadget player that hasn't had a whole lot of usage. I think a lot of teams, if he's a hidden weapon, we haven't known it over these years. So for me, he's more likely to turn in a kind of weak Duke Johnson type year in the long run. But I think the upside for him is one of the stellar Darren Sproles years. So you could, if they really are committed to using him and they don't have a whole lot of other players to throw to or to run on that team other than Ridley, he could end up exceeding his history. It's just in my view, you're betting on historical odds, and I like your side of the bet.
Yeah,
I do too. Too.
Now, Cordell was with the Bears last season, and like you said, he was used as a gadget player, but then again, a lot of the Bears were. So, prior to being with the Bears, he was a big name in kick returns. So, coming to the Bears, he didn't get that action. Now that they're going to get him a little bit more time in the lineup, get him the ball a little bit more, you might start seeing a little bit of a production increase over the season. I don't know. I don't know that it's probably going to sustain through the entire season. I think it was a good trade on both sides because just like Jono said, it could go either way. You could both be successful, you could both be flops, or somewhere in between. So I think it's a good trade. I think you did a good job getting rid of Patterson, though.
I do too, and that's why he's my sell high this week.
Yeah, I think it's a good call. So bet on history.
Yeah, and I think Ridley's been horrendous this year, and I think that plays into it big time. I mean, Ridley is the top 5. He led the NFL in air yards last year.
Mhm.
I don't think his numbers are going to keep up this year the way that he's going. I mean, he's still a top 5 receiver.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, he's a good buy low candidate in my view. He's still getting the targets. He's going to get his, and now is, I think, probably low value. Not going to get much worse.
Oh, by the way, I tried to buy low on him, Jono. I tried to trade him for Cooper Kupp, and that didn't work. So
Yeah, well, that's unfortunate. I think that's a good move too, right there.
All right, fantastic.
So, do you have any questions for us about start sit or
life in general?
A couple others before I get out here. Definitely, let's stick with the Eagles here. I'm just curious of your thoughts on the perennial problems here of starting a tight end from the Eagles, Ertz or Goddard. How do they stack up with guys, maybe other waiver wire additions like Dalton Schultz? Are you buying on Ertz, or you think that his recent productivity is going to stick around? Do you think Goddard's going to continue to be a startable guy?
You want to take that, Josh?
I'll take that. Yeah. I really like Schultz over both of them, to be honest with you, Jono. I think Ertz was injured. He's had an injury history over his entire career. I thought Goddard was going to be the guy, but we saw last week on primetime football that Ertz is more athletic. Okay, I'll put it to you this way: Ertz is more athletic, and I think the last couple games have shown that. But in that offense, you have Jalen Hurts, who's a running quarterback. So I just don't see. Granted, Dak is too. Okay, but they have a better offensive line. They have a better running game. I would trust a Dallas established tight end over either one of those Philadelphia tight ends because they're going to vulture from each other. Blake Jarwin is not much. I thought he was going to be big. He's not. Mm-hmm. So Dalton Schultz is the clear number one. Who knows who's the number one, Goddard or Ertz? So
here's my thought on it. I like Schultz better too, and the reason is because Goddard and Ertz are both good tight ends, and that's going to play against both of them. Like Josh was saying, they are going to get their share of the pie, but it's going to be split between the two of them. So the problem that I have with that is that at some point Ertz is going to get hurt. I mean, it's inevitable. It's just a matter of time. Don't know when, but at some point he's going to get hurt. It's if history does repeat itself when it comes to these things. But I do think Schultz is going to have a better overall season because, like Josh said, he is the clear number one tight end there, and I think he's gonna have the advantage of being that clear number one tight end as opposed to splitting his time with somebody else or his touches with somebody else.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I think we're in a similar boat here. I've got them two bought into Philly's offense across the board here, across the different leagues. But Goddard, I'm setting sort of a hold. I got Dalton Schultz over him in one league. And I think maybe ours, Josh, I picked up Ertz. Where I have Kelsey, another similar wait-and-see situation. I think there's a chance he gets moved at the trade deadline and makes both of their lives, that is Goddard and Ertz, much better in tight end productivity.
Well, if you got Kelsey, you have no problem. So I don't feel for you. So
yeah, you only need another tight end for. You only need another tight end for 1 week, and that's that bye week to come.
Or 0 weeks,
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Flexible flex. So, one last one for you. Am I ever going to be able to start Fournette with confidence?
I'd say no.
I'd say yes.
Never.
I'd say yes.
Well, let's hear it.
Here's the thing. We thought for years that the New England running back situation was a result of Bill Belichick's play calling. Mm-hmm. The more and more that I see Brady play, both in New England and in Tampa Bay, I think it's a result of Tom Brady's play calling.
It is. Or was.
I mean, you have the talent of a Tom Brady. It's almost like Peyton Manning late in his career. He never had a good running back late in his career because all the defenses were shifted on him, and he ran the offense. So I just don't see Fournette or Jones or Bernard, who's injured. So
You just don't see Josh. Okay, so Giovanni Bernard is a injury waiting to happen also.
Yes, it is.
He is inconsistent when he's in the lineup. He was in a share situation when he was in Cincinnati, and that didn't work out so well for him. That's how he ended up where he's at now. Ronald Jones was really good last year. I'll say he was above average last year and not too bad. Okay, he was serviceable. Now, this year, the first game of the season? He gets a carry and fumbles it. He's going to be sitting on the bench for a while. He's going to be a situational running back. I think it's pretty obvious that Mr. Fournette is going to be your man. I got to totally disagree with Josh on this. I think Fournette doesn't have the injury history that Giovanni.
Oh, yes, he does.
No, not like Bernard does. Come on, Bernard's. I mean, yeah, he's had injuries in the past, but he's not like Bernard, where he's going to be sitting on the bench half of the season, not because he sucks, is because he's injured. I don't see it. Fournette has been solid this year, although he did have one pass that hit him right in the hands, and the other team caught it. I know. It was pretty sad, but
my whole point is Brady's game plan evolves, so it's not structured to one type of running back, and I think that is the downfall of any running back that plays with Brady, and that's why I am not comfortable starting Fournette in any situation.
Yeah,
interesting.
I think he'll be solid. It'll take some time for them to work him into the game plan, because their whole offense is focused, like you said, around Brady, and it's going to take some time to work him in. But they've got to have a run play. I mean, they've got to have somebody running the ball.
I'll tell you
Brady's
what, Alan,
obviously not going to do it.
I'll tell you what, Alan. Right now, I will bet you a gentleman's bet that Fournette does not get 4 touchdowns from this
on the
point.
Season?
From this point on in the season. So
from now until the
end of the season, 4 touchdowns.
I'm in.
All right.
Look, see this? We're shaking on it. Yes. I know you can't see this, but we're shaking on it on camera. So I've got proof of it, and I'm going to put that on the website too.
Yes.
Excellent.
And I'm going to take a video. I'm going to take a video clip of us shaking hands and put it on the website. So
yes.
That way everybody knows.
Well, Jono, we thank you for coming on the show with us. And
Thanks for your time, guys. It's been fun. We'll do it again.
Yes, we'll definitely do it again. Even though I don't agree with some of your predictions, or Alan's for that matter. I never agree with Alan.
I know I like this Alan guy.
Hey, Jono, if he doesn't agree with you, that means you're doing a good job.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. I'll stay at the top.
All right, I hate you both. All right, Jono, thanks for calling. Bye.
Yeah, bye.
Thank you. All right. Well, fantastic to hear from Jono. Thank you,
What a
Jono, for
jerk.
calling in. I like the guy. I don't know what Josh thinks, but I like the guy. I think he's very, very intelligent. So, all right. So let's move on a little bit. Let's move on to what has us bent. Josh, I think you started last week, didn't you?
Yeah, you go first.
Okay. Yeah, so here's what's got me bent, all right? So this end zone celebration that Tyreek Hill feels it's necessary to do, and Lamar Jackson feels it's necessary to do. In fact, Jackson actually said after that flip into the end zone that his hip was hurting, and that he didn't say anything to coach about his hip hurting because he didn't want to be talked to about it. Okay, Lamar Jackson, I've got you on my team, but let me tell you something. It's very unsportsmanlike to do that. If you want to have a little bit of class, do what Walter Payton used to do when he'd go in the end zone. He'd walk over or he'd run by the referee, toss the ball to him, and then go on to the sideline, celebrate on the sideline with his teammates. And I'm going to tell you right now, Tyreek Hill, I think you're an awesome wide receiver. You're in a great situation, but you know what? You keep doing those backflips, you might just tweak that ankle. You might just tweak that knee. You know what? Don't do it. Act like a professional. Act like you've been in the end zone before. Don't be a little kid and just because you can do a backflip, do it on your own time. Actually, do it on something really soft like a trampoline or something. You don't want to hurt yourself. You're a professional athlete. Think. Use your brain. That's what's got me bent. What's got you bent, Josh?
Alan doesn't use his brain much, but use your brain like where Alan should be.
You know what this is?
What?
It's a brain sucker starving. Go ahead.
All right, so here's something that's got me bent, and I'm going to go off tangent for a little bit here, so if you don't mind,
No,
like I usually do. So I was driving over here a little bit ago.
I was driving over here the other day.
I was driving over here the other day.
Yeah.
And anyway, there was road construction in the right lane, okay? So I'm driving in the left lane, and the road construction stopped, and they had the right lane open again.
Okay.
And then again, there was road construction in the right lane, and they had it closed again. So this Range Rover drove up next to me, just speeding by, trying to get into my lane, and I wasn't going to let him in. So, he put in a signal, I let him in. I slowed down. And what didn't he do, Alan?
I don't know.
He didn't give me the wave.
He didn't say thank you?
He didn't give me the wave.
He didn't give you the wave.
If you get in traffic, you have to give the wave.
It's common courtesy. Give the wave.
Yes. Now, Matt Nagy, the last couple weeks, I know you're going to hate this.
Probably not. You just said Matt Nagy. I hate it already.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Matt Nagy. Oh, I'm going to say something good about Matt Nagy, though. So, Matt Nagy, the last couple weeks, he's been cutting in front of us, not telling us who the starting quarterback was, not adjusting the offense to Justin Fields' skill set. But last week, when he played against Detroit, I actually saw some RPOs, run pass options, and that was good. And today, I woke up, I didn't think I would ever see this year. Matt Nagy, what did he say today?
He announced today that moving forward, Justin Fields will be the starting quarterback for the Bears.
Yay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So Matt Nagy finally gave us the wave.
Finally.
It's been a long time coming.
Yeah.
Because he's been passing us and not giving us the courtesy wave.
For sure. It's about time too. I mean, to me, for him to not give us the wave, if you will, sooner than this is just ridiculous. Because realistically, your opponents know it. I mean, really, is there a lot of difference between preparing for Dalton as opposed to Fields? Not really.
I think there is.
No. And the reason I say that, this is a whole nother discussion, but the reason I say that is because Justin Fields is still learning, okay? Yes, there's throws that Fields can make that Dalton can't make. I get that. And there's plays that he can run, like he can run with the ball. Dalton doesn't do that. I get that. So there is a difference, but at the end of the day, neither one of them are superstars. Neither one of them are going to throw up 375 yards and 4 touchdowns. So the preparation comes in, as far as the defense goes, with your receivers more than your quarterbacks in that situation.
Okay,
right?
I agree with you.
So that's all I got to say about that. And we won't discuss that. We won't go into that because I could debate that all day long with you. But we won't talk about that. So moving on, I get where you're coming from with the wave.
Absolutely.
Coaches, give everybody the wave. Yeah, that's right. New England, very notorious for not giving the wave.
Oh, God. Belichick more accurately. So
Absolutely. All right, so that's what has us bent this week. What also has me bent this week, and I'm not going to go into this too much. Yeah, actually, I'm going to go into this very extensively because
is this what I think you're talking about?
It's going to be our start 'em and sit 'em.
Okay.
No, I'm not. No, I've got something for next week already planned for the.
I know he does, and it's going to be awesome.
We're not going to go into that, but no, yeah, the start 'em and sit 'em is up next on the show. So we're going to talk about who we've got start 'em and sit 'em. I started out last week first, so go ahead, Josh.
Okay, my quarterback this week is going to be Zach Wilson.
Okay,
and
for your start 'em.
For my stardom, yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
He's shown the ability to get outside of that pocket and accurately throw it on the field. And I think they're playing Atlanta this week, if I'm not mistaken. Atlanta's defense, come on, man. We've seen it.
Yeah.
As much to our chagrin, we both thought Atlanta would be a great team this year, and they suck.
Yeah.
So I think Zach Wilson is going to throw 300 yards this week.
He's going to have a good week, I think. I think you're right.
1 or 2 touchdowns, maybe, to Corey Davis.
Yeah, and all of the rookie quarterbacks have shown improvement this year. Or
They
this
have.
last
They
week.
really have. Yeah.
So,
Zach Wilson had a good week last week, actually.
He
So
did. He did. So my stardom this week is going to be Kirk Cousins, and there's a number of reasons I got Kirk Cousins as my starter. He's had 20 plus points, fantasy points. That is, 8 out of the last 10 games running into last season. So he's been consistently good with the fantasy points. Last week was his first really bad week of the season, this season, and then he's playing a really porous Detroit defense. We see how that was played out last week.
I thought they'd be better against the Bears.
They're playing Detroit this week, and it's a division game. So I think Kirk Cousins is definitely a start this week. Go ahead and drop your jaws. It's fine. I don't usually pick Kirk Cousins for anything, but I think he's a start this week.
I do too. I think Kirk Cousins, I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL.
Okay.
Fantasy points wise. So.
Okay, that's a whole nother discussion. Wait, see, you guys are probably
he hates him.
You guys are probably thinking these guys say they don't agree on anything, but yet they agree on everything. You're going to start seeing more and more this as the season goes on.
Cousins is in Fitzpatrick's range for him.
So who do you got for RB?
I really like Nick Chubb this week. I know he's had a horrible 2 weeks, and Kareem Hunt outscored him the last couple weeks. But, Chubb's the guy, and he really needs to prove that he's the guy. So this is his week. I think if he doesn't do it this week, I think I'm going to drop off the Chubb bandwagon for a top 5 pick and
move on to Kareem
Hunt. Yeah.
Okay.
As much as I hate to say it, so
fair enough. So my RB this week that you want to start is Damian Williams. I talked about it earlier with Jono on the call, but his numbers in 2019, like I said, shut up, Josh. are not his best numbers, but are not the best numbers ever, but they are pretty solid. He especially at the end of the season, he came on really strong. Sat out the 2020 season for COVID reasons, but he is going to be he's going to be good. He's going to be good this year, or this week, I should say. I'm not big on him over the 4 to 5 weeks necessarily. It's a week by week. It's a week by week thing, but we'll see. But this week he's a start.
And I really don't agree with that. But you know what? I respect that opinion. So
wow, I'm glad I have this on tape.
All right, my receiver this week, and yes, I'm a homer, is Brandon Ayuk. Shut up, Alan.
It's fine. It's fine. I don't hate Brandon Ayuk. I don't dislike him.
I love Ayuk, actually. I think he's one of the most talented receivers in the league. He's got the length, the youth, and the separation skills that can really put him in a top 5. What did I say, top 10 this year?
Yeah, I think so. I think
I said top 10.
I think the very first show you said top 10, I think so.
But of course he got injured just like Judy, so...
Yeah, but he's back. He'll be back.
He's back, yeah. And even with him injured, he had 3 targets. So
yeah, no, not a bad choice. I'm not even gonna give you a sound effect on that one. That was not a bad choice. My wide receiver this week to start is gonna be Kenny Galladay. Now again, keep in mind when we're telling you
Galladay.
That's what I said.
You said Galladay.
That's what I said. So anyway. Moving on from Josh's comment, I don't, I'm not going to give you, and Josh is not going to give you somebody that is an obvious start, but in this case, Galladay is actually going to be a good choice for a start this week, and here's why. They're playing the Cowboys. The Cowboys' run defense has been pretty bad or pretty good, but their pass defense has been a little bit on the weak side. You got something else you want to say?
Yeah, they have. No.
Okay.
No, I was just clearing my throat.
All right, you just sit there and mind your business. Now, last week he blew up for 116 yards. It's not going to be a regular week-by-week thing. He's playing against the Cowboys this week. New Orleans actually gave up a lot of points has given up a lot of points to wide receivers over the season. In fact, they've given up the second most points, fantasy points, I should say, to receivers of all teams this season. So, Galladay, good start this week. Who do you got for
Do
tight
you
end,
mean
Josh?
Galladay or?
It doesn't really
It
matter.
doesn't really matter.
See, this is what happens when you try to do a podcast with an English major. I hate this. I might just leave. I might just quit.
All right, I'm going to do Logan Thomas.
It's going to be joshed on fantasy football.
Logan Thomas, I understand that McLaurin is the number one target there, but that defense is starting to come around. You know, they were projected the top defense this year, and they really haven't lived up to it. But Heineke, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm a believer.
You're a believer in Heineke?
I'm a believer. Oh, thank you. I'm a believer in Heineke. I really think that he's going to be able to get the ball to not only McLaurin, but Thomas. And, I mean, he's poised for a big week. He has had 3 to 4 subpar weeks. So I think Logan Thomas is my start.
Okay. So my tight end start is going to be Hunter Henry. They're playing the Texans this week, and I don't think I need to say a whole lot more other than that. The Texans have given up a ton of fantasy points. Last week, they gave up 2 touchdowns to Dawson Knox. I think he's going to be a big play this week.
Okay.
All right. You're okay with that?
I'm okay with that. I can't argue with that, for sure.
All right. So let's head on to our sit-ems.
All right. You're not going to like this.
No,
Okay.
I'm not. I'm sure. I haven't liked much on this show so far today, other than talking to John. On what?
Jalen Hurts is my sit this week.
Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts. And I know Jalen Hurts is starting to really pave his way to a number 1 quarterback. But he's playing against Carolina. Carolina, they allow 189 per game passing and 89 yards per game rushing. Okay. Just under 190 each. So I just don't see Jalen Hurts getting past that Carolina defense. And I understand there's no McCaffrey. Right. You know, and Darnold is a quarterback whom I love, by the way. And Jalen Hurts, I love this year. I still think he's going to be in QB1, but I just don't think he's going to do it this week against that defense. That defense has surprised everyone. Okay.
All right, so my sit this week is going to be Carson Wentz. Now, Carson Wentz I like as a quarterback in general.
So that means he's going to score 40 points.
Yeah. So next week's show may not have Josh on it. I'm not really sure. Not sure if I'm going to let him in the dungeon anymore. But for this week, we'll keep him around for a little while. Carson Wentz, lackluster in points this year. I said, just a few minutes ago or a few seconds ago that I do like him as a quarterback. It's been a rough love affair, if you will, for me and Carson Wentz because I like the guy. And I think he's a good quarterback. I think he was in a bad situation in Philadelphia. I've said that before. But also, the Ravens' defense this week, very, very tough. They haven't been that great against the run this year, but they've been really solid against the pass. So I think they've held every quarterback so far this season to less than 20 fantasy points. So Ixnay on the Wentz this week. Let him sit and let him marinate on your bench for a little while.
I'd be surprised if his glass ankles hold up.
I'm telling you, that's tough, man. I know what ankle injuries are like. I had surgery on my ankle many years ago, and the sprain itself, even not a serious one, a sprain itself is painful, let alone 2 ankles. So.
Yeah, especially against that Baltimore D. Yeah. So this one's gonna really get out there. Derrick Henry, I don't like him this week. I really don't. I understand they're playing Jacksonville.
That's where I get hung up on it. Go ahead.
I know. But you and I have talked about this every week for the last 2 years, 2 seasons. There is no way that he's going to keep up that 30. Do you realize he's on pace for 540 touches?
Yeah, we talked about that last week. That's insane. That cannot keep up. There's no way.
I think Tennessee is going to be up big early. Just like I said about Josh Allen last week. They're not going to have use for him. They're not going to risk him late in the second quarter, early third quarter when they're up 21-0. You know what I mean?
It's a jagged little pill to swallow, though.
It's
hard.
is.
It's hard to not start him. Put him on your bench when he was a top.
And you
5.
pretty much have to start him every week,
Right.
But I just don't like him because I think they're gonna blow out Jacksonville. So
All right, fair enough. If they do blow out Jacksonville, he'll be running the ball a lot. That's all I got to say about that. All right, my pick for running back to sit this week is going to be Melvin Gordon. They're playing the Steelers, which again the Steelers not as great against the pass, but pretty tough against the run. So he's also splitting carries too. So he's splitting carries with the rookie Javonte Williams. That being said, Gordon is an explosive player. He's an explosive running back. That Steelers defense is too much for him. I don't see him doing anything this week. I think he's definite sit. So
I think Javonte could get that job by the end of the year.
it's very possible. Very possible.
I have Calvin Ridley, yes, and I have him in most of my leagues this year.
Mm-hmm.
That Atlanta offense, and Alan and I have talked about this. It's atrocious. Okay. Cordero Patterson is getting touches that Ridley should get, that other people should get. Mike Davis, who I'm high on, but not as much anymore.
Yep.
But I just don't. It's faded a little bit, a lot. I just don't see that any skill position in that Atlanta offense really doing much unless they get that game plan together.
Probably very sporadic, I would guess.
Yeah, it's not good.
Might have a good game here and there, and but yeah.
But so Calvin Ridley, yeah, he was one of my top 3 receivers, and now he's not.
Yeah. So on my wide receiver this week, I'm saying Odell no to Odell Beckham. Sit him down.
Did you really just say Odell no?
Odell no. So sit him down.
Odell no.
He had 7 targets last week. You know how many he caught? 2.
2.
Not bad.
You know what, though? I will give you this, though. Remember that one that Baker overthrew him?
Yeah.
That would have been a touchdown.
His stats would have been better if Baker would have hit him in the end zone. I'll give you that. But still, they're playing the Chargers this week. Chargers have a solid solid defense. They've given up the 4th fewest fantasy points to wide receivers throughout the season. Say Odell no to Odell. That's all I got to say about that. Tight end.
I love it. I'm going to go with Dallas Goedert. We thought from the beginning of the year that he was going to be the clear-cut number 1. And he was in training camp and the first 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Zach Ertz got electrocuted by Frankenstein. He's come alive.
Yeah.
And
I don't know what happened there.
Holy cow. I mean, Zach Ertz has out-targeted and out-caught Dallas Goedert for the last week. I don't know if it's his rebirth or what, but I just don't think Goddard's, they don't trust him enough to get that, to be that number 1 tight end. So he's my sit. That being said, he'll probably get 8 catches for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. So.
All right. So my tight end, I'm saying no cooks in the kitchen this week. Sit Jared Cook. He's playing the Browns. Tough defense. He had a huge week last week, but you know what? It's coming to an end this week. He may have some success after this week, but this week the Browns defense too much for him.
I love your dad jokes, by the way.
Stop.
All right, so those were our start and sit.
Yep. Now, we want to review last week's start 'em and sit 'em and see how we did or didn't do. So, Josh, why don't you take the reins on this one and get going?
I did good on my sits. I did not do good on my starts. So, I said start Darnold. Remember, if I remember correctly, I said start him over somebody like Josh Allen.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll get into that. Darnold scored 38. So I'm really, really happy with that.
Good solid.
Who's your quarterback?
My stardom last week was Big Ben. No,
it was not.
I'm
It was
sorry,
Garoppolo.
I'm sorry, it was Garoppolo. I had Ben as my sit-em.
Your sit outscored your start.
Yeah. So I had Garoppolo, but in all fairness, he did get injured.
Yes, he did.
So, but again, at the end of the day, points are points, and we're going to call that one a miss. So
wrong.
Yeah, we're going to call it wrong. It's definitely backfired on me. Garoppolo is going to be probably sitting this week. I don't have anything definite on that yet, but all signs are pointing to the fact that he will be sitting. So,
well, I hope he starts because one of my bent predictions from early on in the year was that Garoppolo would start more games than Lance. So it's 4-0 so far. So
yep. So that will probably come true. But.
Yes, I picked Zach Moss for my start. I thought that Buffalo would be up huge, which they were. He got 12 points. You know, that's kind of disappointing. Mm-hmm. I'm going to call that a wrong because I thought he would get 2 touchdowns. He had 1. And he only had, 60 yards total?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
it wasn't a ton.
So I'm wrong on the Zach Moss pick.
Okay. And for my running backs, I had Josh Jacobs or Peyton Barber, whichever one was starting. It turned out to be Josh Jacobs, and he ran into a brick wall, which would have been better than what he did. So Jacobs ended up with 10 points. Peyton ended up with 0.
0.
But the only reason he ended up with 0 is because Jacobs started. So
yeah.
And I said whichever one starts. So my wrong was going to be Josh Jacobs with 10 points.
Okay. And I really screwed the pooch on this one. I thought Rondale Moore. I know Alan picked. We'll get into that here in a second. But I picked Rondale Moore because I thought Ramsey would be on Hopkins, which he was, and Hopkins had a horrible game. Mm-hmm. So there were only 2 or 3 other people we thought, in our opinion, that would have a big game for the Cardinals, and one of those 3 did, but it wasn't one of mine. Rondale Moore scored 5 points. So that's definitely a big miss. That's a wrong.
Yep. So I had, excuse me, I had Edmonds and
Kirk.
Thank you, Kirk.
Yes.
Couldn't even think there for a minute. So I had Kirk had 1 point, and then Edmonds had 22 points. So
I started Edmonds. So.
Yeah, so I had 1 right and then 1 wrong. Yeah, it didn't quite pan out the way I thought, but it did. You did see that Ramsey was covering Hopkins. So my mindset behind that was that since he's going to be covering him, they're not going to be able to double up the second player. A second wide receiver, or 2 other wide receivers, I should say. So I had 1 right, 1 wrong.
AJ Green actually took Kirk's place, remember?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the tight end, I don't even want to get into. I scored 0 because, as you guys know, if you watched our show last week, Gerald Everett, I picked him to be the start. Mm-hmm. And what was it? 4 or 5 minutes after we got the alert that he was on COVID protocol. He still is, by the way.
So go ahead. I mean, we're all riveted by what you.
No, I'm a loser. I'll admit it. So there's my pick. So who's yours, Alan?
All right, my pick was George Kittle.
Loser.
Kittle,
is that for you or for me?
For me. George Kittle wound up with 8 points, so I'm going to call that a wrong. We're going to move on from that. Let's talk about our. Oh, you got your tight end to go still.
No, you did Everett. Yeah, right, COVID. Okay. So I got 0. Right. So there's nothing to talk about.
Yay! Okay. So Ben Roethlisberger was my sit-em last week. So Big Ben ended up with 11 points, which I'm going to call a wrong. Not even serviceable on that one.
I would say a right. You said sit, right?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say sit. Yeah, so you definitely hit that one.
Yeah, so that was right. I did say last week that he'd be seeing more sky than he would be green field. So, yeah, he was looking up at the sky more often. I don't even know how many sacks they had, but he was on his back a lot.
Yeah, and I really don't like, after watching the last couple games, Alan, I don't know how you feel, I really don't like Roethlisberger the rest of the year. He's just not looking good. He's not looking poised.
Well, it's because that offensive line is terrible. Their offensive line is just absolutely horrible. That's why I don't like any running backs from Pittsburgh either. The only thing I like about Pittsburgh is their defense.
I like Najee Harris. That's it.
Yeah, I don't like the running backs. Their offensive line sucks, and if they can't get if they can't get passes completed, they can't get runs completed either. I mean, it's terrible.
Well, that's true.
So anyway, go ahead. Who's
All right. This was a big reach. I said Josh Allen, and the reason I said that was because I thought they would be up big, which they were.
Do I need to pull the loser thing?
No. That's not a loser. That's not a loser.
20 points. Oh.
Josh Allen scored 20 points. I would say that's a right because look at this. He scored 42 the previous week. Okay, he didn't reach 300.
Okay.
He threw an interception.
Okay.
Okay, and he didn't have many rushing yards. So, and I said last week, if you have somebody like Darnold, start him over Josh Allen, and Darnold scored 38. So I would say that's a right, but it's your call.
We'll say serviceable.
Serviceable.
We'll go in the middle because 20 points isn't terrible for a quarterback, but it's definitely not
for a top
great.
3 quarterback. It is. That would have been bad for Mahomes, right?
Yeah, but any quarterback's going to have a bad week or a down week, whatever.
Okay,
20, it could have been a lot worse, I guess.
I'll give that to you. Serviceable.
We'll call that one serviceable. That's fair. All
okay.
Right. So then my running back last week, which really hurts, was Montgomery, and he scored 27 points. So I'm going to call that definitely
Loser.
a wrong.
I love the loser.
A loser wrong. So
yes.
Yeah, that was a bad one. If he wouldn't have been injured, I'd have been even more embarrassed. I probably wouldn't have even shown up on the show tonight. Thank you.
Like the clapping? Yes.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it was definitely a wrong on that one. But I'm not wrong about starting Williams this week. Go ahead.
Okay. I had Swift. I actually did really good on my sits. I had DeAndre Swift, and he was averaging over 23 points a game going into the week 4. Like you and I talked about, that Bears D is starting to come around, and I really like them.
Mm-hmm. It is. And it's funny because at draft time, nobody was looking at the Bears defense.
I know. But they are now. That's one of the best free agent pickups in fantasy. So
along with Damian Williams.
Yeah. In a full point PPR, Swift scored 8.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So definitely wrong or right on that one. My tight end last week, my wide receiver last week was Michael Pittman. He wound up scoring 11 points, which I would call right to serviceable. Somewhere.
I would call right.
You want your tight end or your I keep saying tight end, your wide receiver to score more than 11 points, but that's not the worst thing that's ever happened if he does score 11. If you're in double digits, it's somewhat acceptable. But if you had anybody else on your roster that's going to get you 12, 15 points, then I would definitely call that one right.
The only reason I call that right is because the last 2 times Allen has said sit Pittman, he scored about 23 plus.
Yeah.
So I would say that's right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate it.
All right, so my receiver was A-Rob, Allen Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
And we've talked about him. He's quarterback proof.
Yep.
He's defense proof.
Yep.
He's been a great receiver.
Last week he was catch proof too.
Well, he was catch proof. He scored 9, so I would say that's a right.
Yeah.
I just wasn't impressed by him this year.
Yeah, and
up to week 4 this year.
Yeah, and the thing about that is it looks like Justin Fields and Darnell Mooney are creating some kind of chemistry there between the two of them, which is kind of leaving Allen Robinson out in the lurch.
Yeah, I agree.
Which that can't happen. That's not sustainable. Allen Robinson is not going to have a terrible season. It's just not going to happen. I don't care what anybody says. It's not going to happen. So, moving on to tight end.
Yep.
Okay. So my sit-em last week was Robert Tonyan, and I'm proud to say that he actually scored 2
points.
Whole points, which makes me right. So, okay, Josh. So, who is your tight end that you picked to sit last week?
My tight end, and I picked him to start last week, and neither one of us is high on him this year. It was Kyle Pitts. He screwed me last week.
Yeah.
But he had 9 points as a sit. Now, he did have 4 catches for 50 yards, but 9 points for a top 5 tight end. That's not acceptable.
No, it's hard to again, another hard pill to swallow with that one. But we kind of called that. I mean, we can kind of, for the most part, put him on the do not start list for a while this year.
I think he's going to be on the do not start list from here on out.
Yeah. Again, maybe
for me at least, and you, I think
maybe a situational thing where we might start him on one or the other, but
boomer bust.
Boomer bust, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So moving forward after this week, we're going to start posting these up on the website. So again, that's bentonfootball.godaddyssites.com. You can go there and check it out. We've got a lot of stuff on the website. We every week prior to roughly about an hour before the start of the first games, I post up on the website the active inactive list from the NFL. So if you have any questions about your lineup, who you need to start, just go right ahead and check out the website, and you can find out if they're actually going to be starting or not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, we do have to do our bet predictions.
We do have to do our bet predictions this week. What did I go first? I guess it doesn't matter. Just go ahead and tell me what your bet prediction is. It doesn't matter.
I have one game, so I'm 5-0 so far.
Okay.
Okay, on underdog road teams. I think the Bears are going to win this week at Las Vegas. I really like them. They're 5.5 point underdogs.
Wow.
Carr came back to earth. He was my sell high 2 weeks ago, and he really lived up to that, didn't he?
So yeah,
he didn't do much, did he?
So no, he didn't. But so let me ask you this: we talked about during the game, we talked about how he throws like 50, 60 times per game. Do you think that's going to be the case against the Bears this week? Do you think he's going to be that far behind, or behind enough that he's going to have to throw that many times?
I do not. No.
Okay.
No, because the Bears' offense isn't made to be up big. Okay, they're a grinded out offense,
right?
And you know that,
right?
So that's why I'm thinking the 5.5 points is a lot of points.
Okay, I was trying to determine whether you thought it was going to be a lack of passing, or if it was going to be a situation where Bears defense was starting to gel enough to where they were going to cause him to have a lot of missed passes and throwaways. And
I don't think the Bears offense is going to gel, but that defense is really coming aboard.
Right.
So I really, really like that defense.
Okay. All right, good. So with my bet prediction this week, I'm going with the Seattle Raiders game. Rams game. We just talked about that, the LAR.
I hate saying LVR.
Yeah, right. So in that game, the over-under on that is what is the over-under on
54.5.
54.5. I'm going to go, my bet prediction is going to be under that. And the reason I say that is because it's a bet prediction. That's why, okay? So I'm going to go with, it's going to be on the underside of the Vegas line there. So, but on a side note, I think the Seahawks are going to pull that one out.
I do too. And on a side note, yes, we thought that the Cardinals and Rams game that was 55 last week would go way over, but it didn't. So this has a potential to happen.
Yep. Okay.
I like Seattle as well.
All right. Well, we'll see. Again, we want you guys to get on YouTube. We want you to like, share, subscribe, do all that stuff. Put some comments down there. We want to hear from you guys. I hear from you guys on Facebook. You comment to me and you tell me that you like this and you like that and whatever. Put it in the YouTube. If you don't have a YouTube account, create one. It's not a big deal. It's not like you're going to get any spam or anything like that. So create that account, like, share, subscribe, and is there anything else we have for them?
I don't think so.
Okay. All right. Well, fantastic. Once again, we want to thank Jono for calling in. Appreciate the questions and the stuff for the stuff for the show. But I guess until next week, you might as well just get bent
on fantasy football.